There's a storm across the valley. The clouds are rolling in. The afternoon is heavy on your shoulders. There's a truck out on the 4-lane, a mile or more away. The whining of his wheels just makes it colder.
Welcome to Community Forum. Today is October 12th, 2022. My name is Priscilla Almquist-Olsen, your host. Welcome to the program, Leanne Fleming and Nicole Reynolds. And they're here to talk about a very important issue, which many people like to put under the rug and not talk about it. But it's getting to be at epidemic proportions, and we're talking about suicide. And this Saturday, there is a walk at Borderland, registration at 9 o'clock, and they're going to talk more about that. And it's a fundraiser, and it's called Easton Out of the Darkness Walk. So out of the darkness. And so that's where they're going to be shining a light on this issue. And I want to welcome you both.
Thank you.
Leanne, Nicole.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. So let me tell us a little bit about Saturday, October 15th's walk. Tell us how it got started. And is this the first one?
Nope. So it started in this area in Pawtucket, Rhode Island, and because of so much attraction, they now have about, I don't know the exact number, but I'd say a good 6 to 10 different walks throughout New England now. Cape Cod Canal just had one, and we have ours this week. Natick, Boston. There's an overnight one in Boston as well, which that's 24 hours. It's going to be beautiful on Saturday. It's about 2.5 miles around the lake at Borderland. People are welcome to bring their dogs and children, wagons of the sort, comfy shoes. And there'll be a little ceremony at 10 a.m. And a nice ceremony with some people sharing some stories, what we call our bead ceremony. Each bead that is given to folks that come in is a different color, represents the loss you've had. So, loss of a parent, loss of a child, you struggle yourself. There's all different colors for why you're there. And those people are chosen throughout the year to speak upon at that bead ceremony.
So Leanne, how did you decide on Borderland?
So we actually didn't plan Borderland. It comes from the foundation, and I think they had just picked it. It's a really nice area. It's a great walk. But when I heard that it was going to be in Easton, I think it was 5 or 6 years ago now, we just both really wanted to get involved.
Great. So are you on a board locally?
We're on the committee for the Easton area walk.
I see. So it's just the walk that you do annually?
Yes.
Do you have any other activities that you promote?
There's definitely throughout the year more of top levels. We're just co-chairs for this actual walk, but the organization, American Foundation for Suicide Prevention, it's such a tongue twister. They do many things throughout the year by talking at schools, talking to parents, officers, firefighters.
And where do they originate?
I don't know that answer.
Oh,
That's a good question. I know their office is in New York.
Yep.
But I'm not sure where it originally started.
I see. Okay. Do you know whether they've had any activities here in Easton?
I don't know if they've had activities, but their programs where the money comes from for fundraising, it brings programs into schools and around the area. So I think they've helped with some of that.
Okay, great. So we'll tune in. We'll find out. Tune in for the next program. Because I know that there have been programs in the Eastern schools on suicide prevention, as well as drug prevention. Yeah. So, do you have a personal story on how you got involved with all of this? I know it might be very difficult to talk about it, but I did ask you before it's the program if you're willing. So who wants to start?
Sure, I'll go. I had a very good friend who died by suicide 2 weeks before we started our senior year of high school. And that was really hard for myself and all my friends. And suicide wasn't really something anyone talked about then. It was kind of like no one wanted to talk about it because they didn't want to glamorize it, or people felt uncomfortable talking about it. And I just felt like there wasn't really enough people talking about it, enough resources for us at the school or just in general. And when I heard the walk was coming to Easton, I volunteered, and I've just been a part of it ever since.
Okay, and so do you both reside in Easton?
I do.
You do?
I'm in Mansfield.
You're in Mansfield. Okay, your neighbor. So that must have been very difficult.
Yeah, it was tough.
I mean, that's a 16, 17-year-old. And do you find that that's very common, a common age group, more so than adults?
I think it can happen at any age. I am a teacher actually at the high school, so I know that they've done a good job bringing in a lot more programs over the years. So hopefully it's been touching more kids, but I do know that there's a lot of bullying and you hear stories in the news, but I think it can affect people at any age.
Yes, that's true. And we hear a lot about veterans who come back from the horrors of war and combat, and they have a very high rate of suicide because it's so difficult to adjust. And I think there are programs now which meet those needs. What about for young people? Are there programs?
There is within schools. There's a lot of, me, myself, I have daughters, and one's 13 years old, and at her last physical appointment, they actually, without me in the room, do a whole questionnaire for her, which is great. They never would do that before. There's also a questionnaire with their counselors at the schools that we are, parents aren't involved in until it needs to be, to know what's going on, which is great because they're not going to necessarily tell the truth if we're in the picture.
Exactly.
How they're really feeling. There's a lot of programs too within schools that kids are doing themselves. I know in Mansfield there's a group called Active Minds, and so does in her school as well in Easton, which is a children doing their own group to show that it's okay to talk, to show the awareness, which is helping. OSHA just came out with a new program that employees have to follow a course with the same, and that's big. That has to do with this foundation. They're supporting that. Stuff like that's coming out. Surprisingly, with numbers, statistics, you said veterans, but we've learned through volunteering and now becoming more involved, veterinarians, extremely high suicide rate.
Really?
So any animal hospitals out there or pet stores or the like, we asked, show up, come in with your dogs and yourself and or your team.
What do you suspect would be the basis for that high rate?
We're thinking for the love of the animals and having to not save them, we're hearing.
Right. I would think so too. And then having to put them down.
Correct.
Yeah. And I imagine there are owners who come in and demand it when the animal is not really, when it's not necessary. And
I'm sure there's a lot to that, yeah.
yeah, so, but I understand that a lot of veterinarians actually make a quick call to the local shelter and that dog does not die.
No, correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
But I imagine it must be difficult because I'm sure they might want the remains. So that's a really difficult situation to be in.
I'm sure.
So there's a lot of regret and remorse there, which can lead to suicide. So what is your personal story?
My personal story is when I was 17 years old, I was actually a junior on the field hockey team as a goalie. My passion since freshman year. Lived in Mansfield my whole life. My mother decided to commit suicide, take her own life. So my sister and I, who was 3 years younger than myself, had to up and move with my father and his family on the Cape in Falmouth.
Oh my goodness.
We did not have a close relationship, but our family masked her condition, which later find out is bipolar. She was never medically treated correctly with her therapist, counselor, doctor, family. Everybody put the cloud over her and just, the wrong medicines, overdoing the medicines or the drugs, trying to fix the underlying issue of, bipolar.
Yeah.
As a mental illness. So for like 10 years straight, I did not want anything to do with it. I said to myself, that's a selfish act. She shouldn't have done this to herself or to us. But I needed education on it as I got older and as I was starting my own family. And I went to the walk at Slater Park. And from there, I said, sure, I want to volunteer. And the past 10 years, I've been volunteering, and just this year became a co-chair. And actually just last week, I gave a speech to the field hockey team in my town about my story, which was really eye-opening to do that whole circle and come back around as an adult.
Yes, and the healing process must have been finally coming to an end for you to be able to share that.
Not an end, but I would say, I don't know what the word is, but it's always a healing process. It's different moments of life.
Sure.
Yep. Especially if my children are becoming the age I was when she committed. I've already passed the age, but now seeing them.
I'm so sorry.
Thank you.
What a horrible thing.
Mm-hmm.
And how old were you?
17. About the same
Oh
age.
my goodness.
Mhm.
So difficult.
Yeah.
Because you're not an adult and you're just,
Having fun in life.
yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Just trying to be a teenager.
Yes. And so all that fun and
Mm-hmm.
just went out the window.
Mm-hmm.
Did you become more of a mother surrogate for your younger sister?
I always was because of my mother's illness.
Okay.
So that was hard to break once I went into my father's home with his wife and
Mhm.
children.
I see. How old was your mother?
She was 41.
Oh my goodness.
Mm.
Wow. So as Leanne said, all ages are affected.
Mm-hmm.
So your experiences with the 17-year-old, yours with your mother at 41,
Mm-hmm.
And then there are elderly people.
Mm-hmm.
Have you come across any stories about those people?
Mm-hmm.
And
Not personal, but yeah.
No. So
Yeah.
what do you think drives suicide? Let's say there must be something that drives it at any age.
Maybe just feeling like there's no way out or not knowing the resources to get help.
Underlining issues.
Yeah, underlining issues, not knowing where to turn. That's why part of our job is resources and advocacy. So we like to let people know the hotline number to call, the 988 number. Just different reasons. I think there's a lot that goes into it.
So as a teacher, you're in a special and privileged place to be able to share the all the symptoms and I imagine you didn't have any though, did you, Nicole? I mean, you didn't have any hints as to what your
No.
mother was going through.
Well, no.
No, I mean I don't mean that. You knew what she was going through, but you didn't know that she would choose that option.
Correct. Right.
Yeah. So, as a teacher at the high school, do you find students who come to you and describe maybe one of their parents or one of their aunts or uncles or someone like that in their extended family who is exhibiting some of the symptoms of hopelessness and don't know where to turn?
Yes, I do get some students who will open up about that. Like we mentioned before, we just started an Active Minds chapter at our school, which I help co-chair that, and that's really working to end the stigma at the school. So a lot more kids have felt comfortable talking about their struggles or struggles of family members, and I think the school does a really good job getting kids the help that they need. Or so if a student comes to a teacher and lets us know something, we have different levels of people to go to. We have great school psychologists and adjustment counselors. So I think there's just a lot more resources for kids to go to these days. So I feel like they've been more open to talking to us.
So now this is a club at the high school, right?
Yes.
Has the club put on any presentations for the wider school population?
Yes, we actually had a really great speaker come about 2 weeks ago called Minding Your Mind, and he came in and talked about anxiety and his struggles and his hospitalization and dealing with depression and everything. And I actually got to have lunch with him after, and a couple of the kids stayed and got to ask these questions, and it was really interesting to see how they related to him, and they told him that they related. Or one girl talked about her sister, and someone talked about another family member, and just opening up the conversation. And I just found out so much more about people, and I think it helps too that when the kids see that they're not alone and that someone else might feel the same way or be going through the same thing, I think that is like really big for them.
So Nicole, isn't there a connection between drug use and suicide? Want to talk about that?
From my experience with my own mom and family members, that's drug and alcohol, or I put drugs, medical as well, painkillers. My mom was very addicted to painkillers, which we had a time period a couple of years ago that people were getting, too many Oxycontins, too many of this, too many of that. Well, she wasn't in that era, so she was able to take those. If alcohol wasn't doing it anymore for her, drugs weren't doing it anymore. Now the medical doctor is giving her medicine. She's kind of overdoing what she should be, masking her own issues. She couldn't control what was going on in her head. She had no one to voice exactly what was going on, what she felt. So she masked it. And that's what a lot of people are doing.
It seems to me that a lot of people on drugs really have a death wish, and they're using the drugs in order to commit suicide. Is there any documentation on that?
I can't comment to that because I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not sure about that.
No, I don't know.
But it's an interesting theory.
Yes.
Yeah. So so what does the future hold, do you think?
Well, with our American Suicide Foundation, it's hope. We have hope that we're going to be saving lives because we're bringing hope into programming through research, a lot of prevention education. We're doing a lot of survivor support. There's days, today is Survivor Day. Today is, another day is, I'm trying to think. We have a month already for suicide. Prevention Month is September. We just passed. Just different things. Talking about it. It's not a broken leg. It's not seen on the face. You'll see a post that has a smile face, I'm sad, and then a sad face, it's happy, but not happy. So it's that's how it is.
If someone in our viewing audience wants to participate, what would you recommend?
That they definitely go online and type in afsp.org.
And that stands for?
That stands for American Foundation for Suicide Prevention. And it's not just in Easton, it's in other areas as well. So if anybody's viewing in any other parts of the state or country, there's plenty out there. And if you don't do a walk, but you want to be involved or receive their emails for all this information.
So one can be an inactive member by getting the information and using it to be sure that their families are safe.
Yes, educate themselves.
Yes.
The signs, there's checklists, there's signs, you could ask for speakers to come to your church, to your school, to your, any organization, really, and speak.
And those speakers, they're local people? Are they people who have been victims of potential suicide, or are they people who have been spectators,
yes,
family
so our
members?
leader, Michelle Lee, her father committed suicide, and she is one of those speakers that will come, and she has to my own church and other organizations.
I see.
It's well taken.
Yeah. Okay. So that's a good thing for people out there to hear. Yeah, churches, synagogues, and other organizations, right?
Of course, yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Get the word out.
Just keep having a conversation.
Yeah.
Yes, but I think the most important thing is getting them when they're young. Don't you think so?
That's why we've brought in like I went to the school I teach at, and just seeing firsthand how much more the conversation's been opened up now, how many more resources there are, more presentations, more chances for students to express how they're feeling, and I've just seen such a positive change in the way people are approaching mental illness, and I think we're headed in the right direction.
And also, there's the buddy system, isn't there? In a sense. I mean, you're educating a young person, and they're like on the lookout. They're looking, being on the lookout for these symptoms in their friends and family. So by educating them, maybe you're putting the brakes on future suicides.
That's what we hope for.
So it's very important, this walk out of darkness. You're shining a light on suicide and prevention. And so Saturday, October 15th, show up at Borderland in Easton and at the Visitor Center. Okay, and be there to support this wonderful organization. You can't do much if you don't have the funds and the resources to spread the word and to have these programs in the schools. And
any dollar amount counts. We don't have a cap on fundraising. And we do have busing at all of our aims as well.
oh yeah,
It's the
explain that.
So the event is at Borderland, and it's $5 to park there. That's how much it costs on a normal day, so that's how much it costs to park during the walk. And that money goes to Borderland for letting us go there. And then if the parking lot gets filled, we have buses that will transport people from the high school parking lot, Olive Ames, to Borderland and back.
Well, that sounds like a good idea, because then they can donate that $5 as an additional payment and donation to your
I
cause.
know, that would be nice.
Yeah. Well, this is wonderful. It's a great program that and fundraiser that you're providing. And thank you so much for telling us about the resources that are available. And once again, what is the contact information for people listening?
Sure, it's the afsp.org.
AFSP.org. American Foundation for Suicide Prevention. I think that's how I remember those letters.
Yes.
Yeah. Good. Okay. Well, thank you again so much for
Thank you.
joining us today, and appreciate it. So the walk is in 4 days. So
There's still time to sign up.
yes, and it's going to be a beautiful day on Saturday, and Borderland, of course, is a beautiful location. So yeah, and bring your dog.
Yes.
Yes. We have lots of dogs there.
We do. It's fun.
Yeah.
They even have little bandanas sometimes with the logo on it to support. You can buy a little bandana for your dog.
Oh, how nice.
The
Yep.
merchandise.
Yep.
Tons of merchandise as well.
Yes.
Oh, there is.
Yep.
Okay. Wonderful. Well, best of luck, and I'm sure that'll be a wonderful success.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And you've certainly got the signs all over town.
Yes.
These signs.
Good.
Walk to fight suicide. So that's the message. Walk to fight suicide, and help to fight suicide even when you're not walking. Because this is a wonderful organization, and these are two wonderful people who are stepping up. And if you want to step up and help, please, can you give us your personal information so they can contact you?
Yep. I'm Leanne Fleming. I can be reached at Leanne Fleming, Leanne Fleming, Fleming, 1992 at gmail.com.
And Nicole Reynolds, my email is smitty, SMITTY, 2380 at gmail. Nicole Reynolds.
And if you missed that, on the website, it also has our contact information.
Correct.
Oh, that's great.
Yes.
And I assume you have a Facebook page?
Yeah.
The organization.
The
does.
organization, yes.
Okay.
Not a personal. Yeah.
Very good. All right. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having
And have a
us.
wonderful fundraiser on Saturday.
Thank
All
you.
the best.
Thank you.
And that's it for us today. Hope you've enjoyed the program. Hope you'll act on this and support. If you can't be there Saturday, try to send in a donation. Go to AFSP, and find out how you can provide some of the resources which are sorely needed. So thank you so much for joining us. This is Priscilla Almquist-Olsen wishing you well. Until next time.